Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
What I find corny is my preference is not my women. Now, I thought it was I'm not dating my women, period, which is the corniest human being outside of a criminal to me, period.
Akaash only dates brown. Akaash has been with one girl in his life who is his wife.
That's my wife. That's an
So
Indian
this
woman that
is
was
like
important to
loyal
me.
through and through.
Different. My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe. Yeah. I remember I was just like, what? But she was 22, I was 31. There was an age gap.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
Damn. You didn't say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
All right, so boom. I've said for years, I really don't care what people got going on in their personal lives. However, when you post onto the global platform that is the internet and then it comes across my desk, it is now my business. Obviously, the individual that you just so happen to see there is Akaash Singh, one half of the very successful podcast Flagrant alongside Andrew Schultz, and a very successful stand-up comedian in his own right. Unfortunately for him, the funniest thing about him is his relationship.
Different. My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe.
When I was in college, I dated this guy. You know, he didn't want to fool around when I was on like the heaviest days of my period. Okay, totally understandable. I get that. And I was like, oh, great. Good news. My period ended. Like, we can like have fun tonight, blah, blah. And he was going down on me. Like, wouldn't you know it, I was still spotting. And also, if you're like poking around down there, like more blood can sometimes come out even if your period is over. And I swear to God, like I thought my period was done. He like looked at me with so much disgust, and I'll never forget that moment. Like I felt so ashamed and so dirty, and like he was like, how could you do this to me, and all this stuff. Ruined the night and like whatever. And he was my boyfriend at the time.
So according to Akaash, you were a virgin when the two of you got together. He was 31, you were 22. You hadn't had any experience, but you said when you was in college, usually that's between age 18 or late 17 to 22, you had a boyfriend who you couldn't do something on a particular day because you were on a period. So that would signify that there'd be use of the vaginal area. Hence, you still decided to go and run said red light. He went down on you. That's terminology for cunnilingus. You were talking about poking around. That would signify some form of penetration, right? So we're hearing the same things, right?
Somebody lies. Yeah. Now somebody, I don't know who, but I'm telling you, somebody's lying. It's two completely different stories.
God, I'm actively trying to have an orgy and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
I beg your pardon?
I can extend a little bit of grace. We all have different sense of humors. And on top of that, this could just be rage bait or clip farming because you got to recognize they just started this podcast. So they got to do what they got to do to mess around and get monetized and get more eyes on what transpires. So perhaps a woman talking about another woman's husband's manhood in front of that woman posted into the ethos of the internet is enough to go and generate clicks. But that's neither here nor there.
Different. My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe.
Okay, I have two butthole stories. So one time I met this guy on Tinder and I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore. Oh my God. And I remembered that I was like trying to finger me in my asshole. I'm like, first of all, we were not on those like terms.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
Sorry, when I got to college, I was like, oh my God, it's like open season and like all these guys are like starting to give me attention and like everyone's being so social. And literally like the first guy I met on the first day I moved in, I ended up dating him on and off for a year.
Open season? That's a very odd terminology to utilize when you're talking about not engaging in carnal knowledge. And of course, Akaash said himself, the two of them were virgins, you know, when they got together with a 9-year age gap, and she was 22 years old. So of course, you have to take her word for it, despite the fact that earlier we heard her say,
when I was in college, I dated this guy. You know, he didn't want to fool around when I was on like the heaviest days of my period. Okay, totally understandable. I get that. And I was like, oh, great, good news. My period ended. Like, we can like have fun tonight, blah, blah.
it's not weird at all. 100% something a virgin would say.
I don't know if you watch The Boys, but I love him on The Boys.
I never watched that show, but like he's on my hall pass list.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Chase Crawford, Jacob Elordi, Austin Butler, and who else? Who else?
Michael B. Jordan. I love a pretty boy, which is why I like Chase Crawford, Michael B. Jordan. They're all so pretty.
Okay, Dean Thomas from the Harry Potter movies.
Okay, she brought up a list of men that she would ultimately have the hall pass for unprovoked. That's not weird.
What kind of porn do you watch when you use a vibrator?
Okay, not gonna lie, I don't watch porn while using a vibrator. What? I just think my imagination is vibration enough.
Wow.
I'm just thinking of like my own husband while I'm like doing it.
Wait, that's kind of baller, but I could never do that.
Yeah. And
Oh, you guys are dramatic. It's not that big of a deal that she unprovoked discloses that she's incapable and unwilling to envision her husband, her spouse, engaging in some form of stimulation as she's masturbating with her vibrator by her lonesome. She would much prefer to watch strangers engage in the act by way of pornography. It's not weird that she's unwilling and incapable of envisioning her husband and spouse doing it to her. That's not weird, especially disclosing that on a global platform like the internet.
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses. I was shopping at Rainbow. I was eating buffalo chicken wraps every day. I was straightening my hair with my French tips. Like, you could not tell me nothing. And I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like, sometimes it like literally hurts my heart.
Popping pussy in white frat houses? I mean, that's an interesting choice of words. Of course, you know, virginity, that doesn't mean as if maybe you were just twerking. Perhaps that's what you meant by popping pussy. And I could have swore you had also said you had a roster of guys you would rotate. Like, I must have been watching Naruto, like 8 trigrams rotation. She must have been a big fan of the Hyuga clan. Hey, I enjoyed watching Neji too.
Excuse my face, I just got a Fraxel, so it looks a little crazy, but it's like, who the fuck are you to talk about when I lost my fucking virginity? I will talk about it because it's my fucking sexuality and it's my fucking story. So sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. And also, do you think Akaash never touched a fucking woman before he met me? Like, we both hooked up with people, we both were in relationships, and then together we both lost our virginity. So sit the fuck down. You're like, just unfollow me. You're so annoying.
Wouldn't that question be warranted? Because Akaash said himself the two of you were virgins, but you're pontificating, bloviating, and discussing and disclosing information unprovoked that in college you had a roster that you rotated. You were popping pussy in a white boy frat house. You did things and hooked up with individuals. You were on your reds, on your period, and you had a past boyfriend in college who you couldn't do anything because it was a heavy flow, but then when it became rather light, he gave you kind of like, I mean, this is all that you stated.
Partnership. I feel like he's giving, you know, I just bought you these flowers because, oh babe, I made that reservation at that place you like. We really stand for him, and like, I'm obsessed. Okay, I have 3 questions about Luigi. Okay, Akaash is mad because I call Luigi Bae.
I don't love it. I don't love it. What does Bae mean?
Bae is like means like
Get it up. Figure it out.
like bae means like when you call someone like honey.
Well, that's a little weird, given that man's wife, in this case Akaash Singh's wife Jocelyn, was online lusting over Luigi Mangione after the whole scandal last year where he shot and killed a healthcare CEO, so much so to where she was now put into a compilation of other women who were lusting over the man and on nationally televised news syndicate. But that's That's normal behavior.
Get this little filter.
It's a ring light. Dr. Trevor, what are we doing?
So Justine sustained a bruise through some physical activity at home. And we treat a lot of bruises here, bruises for many different reasons. And so we have an excellent laser called the baby and the death.
Also, I heard you're single. Is that true?
We're gonna go back to treating. Typically we get these type of bruises on the neck.
Wait,
we
why?
call it something else on the neck, and it's surprisingly we get a lot of patients who come in.
That's normal. I mean, normal spouses have discussions with their doctors about appearances of hickeys on glutes, if you will, and proceed to take out a phone in the midst of the intimate conversation with your cheeks out, soon to possibly be spread if, that's what you're in there to get evaluated and posted onto the global platform of the internet. And then, of course, you could always make a joke to say, hey, are you single by any chance? I mean, given that you're in a public relationship, that's regular. Y'all gotta stop. You're blowing it out of proportion. It's not as if this woman's character is being called into question here.
So, first question is by Shika. Tell us what makes a happy marriage and how do you manage who compromise on what? Thank you, Shika. You don't compromise. You get what you want and you throw a fit if you don't.
Okay, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say in a more politically correct way.
But in essence, I could boil it down to happy wife, happy life. But what I mean by that is okay, I think if your husband loves you enough to approach you after an argument and just be like, hey, you know what? I don't care who's fucking right or wrong. I'll be wrong. Let's just talk about it. Do you see where I'm coming from? Yes. Can you see where I'm coming from? Totally. And you can just see where each other's coming from, but also next time, don't fucking do that. Next time, don't fucking rush me when I'm already overstimulated. I would really appreciate it. No, actually, Akaash is never right in an argument, and he will say it. He'll be like, okay, I'll be wrong. Just because he knows as soon as he says it, I'll soften. And I'll be like, yeah. I know that you might be I might be a little upset about this thing, and I'll be like, what the fuck do you have to be upset about? That's usually the energy I give back to him.
Sometimes it's easy to villainize your partner and be like, oh, and you came after me and you did this.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm like, wait, my partner loves me. It obviously didn't come from a place to hurt me, and I need to step back and recognize that.
I have a hard time with that still.
You're just being dramatic. Did you catch it? She said after an argument, despite who's right or wrong, he should admit guilt and say, I'm sorry, just so they can go and move forward. But that's regular spousal things, right? Especially if you're fully aware of the fact of this conflict showing itself in the midst of said relationship. But of course, we all have to take time to go and grow.
When I say I'm tired, she can't just let me be tired. I work 335 days a year. I'm so blessed to do what I do. This is not a complaint. But when I tell my wife I'm tired, I want her to say, I'm sorry, baby. I understand. That must be exhausting, buying me all these things. Instead, she goes, so am I. And if I dare open my mouth to go, what the fuck did you do that made you tired? Now it's a problem. Now it's a fight. So I gotta sit there.
I went to Pilates.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I faced my day-hole. I walked happy. I could be tired.
Yesterday,
she has a lot going on.
Yesterday, I worked the entire morning to night, whatever. I get a workout in because I'm trying to be less fat. And then she's like, babe, can you take out happy? I'm so tired. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then out the door, she's like, how could you not respond to that guy's text? And then I know I'm angry when I hit my pet names for her very harshly. I go, because I was busy, my love. And I slammed the door and walked out.
Hey, you did it with grace. The best part is that he always apologizes. He's like, hey, I'm sorry I was short with you. And I'm like, you were.
That's regular, right? You have the privilege of not having to do anything because you have a man who is providing an amazing lifestyle for you. And when he's tired, he's met with complaints of your own fatigue rather than sympathy. That's a healthy relationship, right?
Do you know why I think I have a good marriage? I think it's because my husband's never here. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of comments that I'm using my husband for clout, and yeah, that's exactly what it is. No lies were told. I am leveraging the support I have. It's kind of like nepotism, but through my husband, so spousal nepotism. What's wrong with that?
You and your husband split finances, and I'm gonna be really fucking honest.
I don't.
We don't.
First of all, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not no joke. I love you girls. if you want to work, all for that, whatever. But like any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his accounts or has separate accounts, that's a fucking red flag. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money and my money is my money. And look, have I only made $600 from content creating?
Wow, it went up $100 from last week.
But that's my money!
Oh, she's just speaking tongue-in-cheek. It's not that big of a deal. And for all intents and purposes, things are taken out of context. It's not as if I went and I watched every single episode of her podcast and watched over 100 of TikToks in order to get a grasp of the type of person that she is at her core. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know these people. You know, it's not as if you'll say something and then be a blatant hypocrite right afterwards. That's not her character, right? Right?
If anyone has ever watched Real Housewives of New Jersey, like the OG seasons, like Melissa and Joe, who were like OG in like season 3, I was like, oh, I want that kind of lifestyle where her husband just takes care of like every need of hers. And I love that. But what I especially love, and I want to like separate for the girls, is like, you don't have to be a trad wife for your man to be a provider. If you want to do that, and that's amazing, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do things for your husband, you absolutely should do seva for your partner, but you don't have to just cook and clean. Like, you don't have to justify your presence as, you know, wanting to be in your divine feminine energy and staying at home and not having as much stress. Such a good point. And I feel like with guys, it's like, it's nice if they can remember that it doesn't always have to lead to sex, because I think it will encourage your girl to have more physical contact, because I think if the pressure of sex is always on it, then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to get him all hot and bothered. So like, I've kind of had to tell my husband, like, it's not going to be like sex every time. And he'll be like, I need you to know that every time I will try, but that's fine if you don't like, you know what I mean?
A few moments later.
This poor man has been rejected so many times probably by me, but if he ever rejects me or says he's not into it,
no, it's
all
different.
hell breaks loose.
This is a one-way street.
Yeah.
Because that feels so like defeating, the rejection.
Dagger to my heart.
Yeah.
Adjective.
You know what the worst day of the year for me is?
Oh, I know this. Go.
Tax day?
No.
It's Akaash's birthday.
And I feel it because she's being nice to me all day. And by like 10 p.m., I can feel her getting just like, I'm so ready for this to be over.
Why?
It's like I turned back into a pumpkin at 12:01, May 5th, and she's so relieved that she gets to be mean again.
Okay, May the 4th is Akaash's birthday. And
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice the whole day, and I have to get him something, and I have to also be nice and do like acts of kindness.
She's really not okay with it.
You know, she said that twice?
She's really not okay with it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's really hard.
For her, it's really hard.
For me.
She needs to just, you know.
Listen, I'm just used to being treated like a princess all day, every day, so that one day that I don't.
Oh, what torture.
Yeah, it's
and
hard.
treating somebody else like they're the main character, that's like the lowest in her book. That's what it is. That's what it is.
This birthday, he didn't really give a fuck either, because he gave me this ring, and he was like, I've done enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah. What are you look at the ring. We went to Turks
But
and
did you get her
Caicos.
flowers?
Oh, my God. I hate women. I hate women.
Flowers.
I hate women.
Wait,
I only get flowers for Valentine's Day.
I hate women.
Barely.
Can you tell them?
Now, I could keep going. Given the past 2 days, I've gone through over 12 hours of Jasleen Singh's content, whether it been the podcast that she shares with her co-host, or if it just so happened to be isolated IG Reels and TikToks. But I can tell you this much. The character of this particular woman happens to be the same thing that unfortunately has you look at Jada Smith, Aisha Curry, even Leanne Hunter, Travis Hunter's wife. The exact same thing is what's on display here. You're way too addicted to attention. And you're oversharing online. Because for one, I could have extended a little bit of grace because this is a wife of a comedian. So you would assume it's just banter, if you will. You're just joking. You're having a back and forth, if you will. You make fun of me, I make fun of you. But the undertone in all of the episodes and in the content is very clear. Furthermore, the fact that Akaash had came out and said, oh, well, The two of them happened to be virgins when they got together, but here she was, pontificating, bloviating, and oversharing about experiences in college. She may not have to go into super detail, but all of the context clues are there. And again, you could assume it's a situation in which I'm posting rage bait, or maybe you're trying to clip farm in order to get more eyes onto the content. But you have to consider, what's the goal of that particular kind of content? Is it solely for money? If that's the case, it's at the behest of who? Your husband's respect and reputation. Because let's call a spade a spade. As a man, the most important thing to a man is your respect and your reputation. Of course, love and all that other stuff is very important. It could be ranked at 3, and the distance between 1 and 3 probably isn't that far, but let's call a spade and be very transparent here. Your husband's respect and reputation here is unfortunately on the line, and just like what transpired in previous relationships that we've seen publicly go through this humiliation tribute kind of posting online, you're oversharing so much so to where now the joke is your entirety of the relationship.
My fucking husband just tried to do to me.
Yeah.
We're leaving. Shut up. We're leaving in Paris in 5 hours, so tensions are a little high.
Yeah.
We also just redid our closet.
This is all her closet now. She took the whole closet.
Which we already agreed upon.
Now she's saying she doesn't have no space.
And now I'm saying I don't have space for all my. I don't have space for. Can you show?
Yeah.
I don't have space for all my Indian suits because I like my dresses spaced out. Do you know what Akaash just did?
Here you go. Watch this. Oh my God.
I'm not doing that.
Space exists.
I'm not doing that.
So what do you want to do? You want to buy a separate house with all hangers?
No, we were supposed to build a wardrobe, but Akaash didn't want to do it
For
because
me,
he's too
because I
cheap.
took the smaller closet.
Yo, are you kidding me? Do you know how much f***ing space he has? Look, utilize the shelves, you idiot.
These are for sneakers. And then this is going to be for towels.
Oh my God.
This is gonna be for... I got to clean all this thing to the storage unit. I just realized today, you're going to know what the storage unit looks like.
I've never been there.
She won't take these downstairs, and then she wants them in the closet or build a wardrobe so she can have space for her Gurdwara lingas.
Gurdwara suits.
Whatever.
You know what? Let's have a little bit of a better attitude.
You're right. Let's. Plural.
Excuse me?
You heard me.
Squeeze me?
Yeah, you're squeezed.
Akash, for real, I like my clothes spread out. Then no, but I literally like my clothes spread out. You want to crunch them all together.
I'm not compressing them.
I don't want them all on the same rack.
These put them on different. You have racks. You have shelves.
I only have 3
I have a
racks.
full walk-in closet. A full walk-in closet in New York City. You know how insane that is? A full walk-in closet for yourself in New York City, and you're telling me I don't have space?
I offered you some in my drawers. Oh, I'll put them in the drawers.
There we go. Look at that solution for your full walk-in closet.
Shut up. So rude.
Now, albeit this is still social media, so you have to take the content with a grain of salt because this could be performative. They could be out here masquerading as the whipped husband and the brat wife solely to garner attention and engagement. But that would be counterintuitive to what Akaash has going on in his business. Furthermore, why would this be the type of archetype that you would ultimately want to project? Wouldn't really make much sense. Furthermore, there's certain things that you can't fake. And I implore you to go and listen to all of the podcasts. Tough listen for me. It's not quite my content, but one way or another, you can hear it in the undertones of how she speaks. She had no desire to work, do any sort of upkeep for the house. She just essentially wants to be financed to just live life on someone else's dime and essentially not have to do anything, which there's not a problem with that if you have somebody who's willing to go and provide. However, you can hear in the podcast that the two of them did together, frustration in the lack of sympathy, empathy, awareness, acknowledgement of the stress or fatigue or how hard he works. Things of that nature. You can't fake certain things like that. You can read it on somebody's face, and it's evident that could be what's taking place in the midst of their relationship. And furthermore, had she not been open in sharing things online, we probably don't even make it to this point, because Akaash had gone on podcasts in the past and talked about how they had gotten together and they were both virgins. And here she was getting online and sharing stories of being in college where you were receiving cunnilingus from a man when you were still in the midst of the tail end of your period. Why did you feel the need to share this story? And furthermore, how are you unaware of the fact that that would be interpreted as a sexual encounter. Furthermore, constantly talking about being in these white frat houses. She constantly leans into, similar to the previous YouTuber Lily Singh, where you lean into being a brown girl and what you endured growing up. While she leverages that and how sheltered she was as a child to now talk about how she's trying to do all of these different sort of things. In the midst of all of this, it's almost as if she's unaware of how it not only affects her, because she's looking at it, well, all publicity is good publicity, right? But she's not looking how it affects him. Furthermore, their relationship and how he'll be perceived, because let's call a spade a spade. As I mentioned previously, in the case of Will Smith, who ultimately got it the worst, when you think Will Smith now, most people, or I should say a great percentage, I don't want to say most people, but I'll say a decent percentage of individuals no longer first think great actor. What do they think? Ah, damn, Jada done did a number on son. Immediately comes to mind, because reputation and respect took a large hit.
Keep fucking my wife's mouth.
I'm going to. This is yet another example of people just simply oversharing online. Why would you feel the need to bring up stories of you yearn and revere the times in college in which you were popping your pussy? Why would you choose that as the choice of word? In these frat houses, you had a rotation of guys. Why'd you feel the need to share that when you are a married woman? What's there to gain from that information? Makes absolutely no sense. And furthermore, you got to recognize, again, you don't represent just yourself. You represent your spouse, and furthermore, the union of the two of you together. And I implore you, go and listen to the totality of her podcast episodes, although it is a little bit of a tough listen for me, coming from a man who has 3 failed podcasts, so I know what failure sounds like, but that's neither here nor there. You can hear it in the undertone. There's certain things that you just simply cannot hide. Body language. This is somebody who's relatively conceited. The name of the podcast is Main Character Pod, which in your own life, you are indeed the main character. But you see where the problem in the conceitedness comes into play is you would just assume in other people's lives, you too are the main character there as well. And ultimately people just go and they do their, your bidding. Because if you listen to the bulk share of what's being said, you can kind of see she dreamed, and she even make TikToks about it, manifesting this life where you can wake up without having to worry about listening to an alarm clock. You don't have to do anything. Sit on the couch, order fast food, watch your favorite TV shows. Maybe you're reading a smut book or something of that nature. You don't got to worry about cooking and cleaning, and all of that stuff is outsourced. You don't really got to worry about doing nothing else. You got somebody else bringing in income. You don't need to go and work. Life is swell. Life is sweet. You're living in New York City and somehow still come off ungrateful. That's what it seems like here. And albeit, if he's happy, hands in the air, because that's your wife, right? I would hope in the future they have a conversation about where it is that they want to go with their public image, because ultimately that's what's going to be on display here. Because again, think about relationships with this particular nature that are successful, not only online, but offline. I should even mention offline, because if you're offline, you're offline. You don't know anything of that nature. Those couples don't exist. And guess what? The few that you probably have in mind, they're the exception to the rule. This is a man who's a comedian who has to deal with hecklers. Guess what? Hecklers is going to show up endlessly. And if there's anything that we know about the internet, there are moments in which the totality of stories will pass over, but there's certain things that you just simply cannot live down. There's folks till this day that'll still comment under Odell Beckham's Instagram poop emojis because of the rumor about somebody shitting on him 10 years later. You think Akaash, who does stand-up for a living and has to do crowd work, isn't going to deal with hecklers talking about his wife? Everybody's got a breaking point at one point. Are you prepared for that? Is that something that you had in mind? And that's not to say that you shouldn't be able to go online and share, your story, but you've got to have a idea of how you want to package that so it's relatively palatable for what you're trying to go and share. But that didn't seem to be the case here. It seems like yet another dude who has absolutely no level of respect in his own household. And the sad thing is, just like what happened with Chris Rock after he had gotten slapped by Will Smith, there's no scenario where Akaash can simply avoid not addressing the elephant in the room. Because you remember what happened with Chris Rock. Ultimately, it was all kinds of anticipation for his next comedy special. And when he dropped the first, I believe it was the first Netflix Live special that was there with Selective Outrage, everybody was disappointed because he didn't wait. He waited until the end of the special to finally address the elephant in the room of that being slapped. And then he didn't go as hard as people thought that he would. And in the case of Akaash, given that you too are a stand-up, and ultimately it's driven by these types of scenarios where you have to be able to make light of a situation or go and make jokes, he's going to have to get in front of it. And furthermore, you're on one of the most popular podcasts in the world. If you go episodes without having to address what happens, I can almost guarantee you're going to mess around and lose listeners. Now, for her, she's uploading the latest podcast that she dropped. She didn't take any accountability, responsibility, or even address what sort of wrongdoing she may have been, what role she played in wrongdoing and how they made it to this particular point. And remember, off numerous different clips, whether she's right or wrong, Akaash is going to have to be the one who has to apologize. So I want folks to take from this story, again, stop oversharing online, thinking this shit is some Dear Diary, because everything that you happen to put out there, it's on the ethos forever, unless you can get ahead of the gate and cancel shit or delete shit way before it messes around and goes viral. Because please understand, anything can go viral at any moment. Her page probably blowing up like crazy. I think she's over 168,000 right now at the moment of this taping. And there's no doubt in my mind, there's a ton of inflated numbers on viewership of people just searching for something else they can get in order to go and make fun of said relationship. And guess what? All of this could have been avoided if you didn't just go and unprovoked share this info, because he decided to go and say, hey, when the two of them ended up hooking up and getting together and making it official, they were both virgins, and here she was talking about popping pussy on college campuses in frat houses with a roster that she would rotate, and a man that happened to be an ex-boyfriend who, despite her period, he performed cunnilingus. We didn't need to know this information, and now we do. And for that, you need to put your motherfucking head back.
A, she was a hooah. B, she was a hooah.
Hey, I appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And on top of that, hit that notification bell as well. For whatever reason, YouTube's only showing my videos to 20% of my subscribers. So if you have already turned on the notification bell, turn it off, turn it back on. If you never turn it on, turn it on. I appreciate you.